Good afternoon and welcome to today's press conference. We'll begin with head coach David Shaw. Coach Shaw, if you could start with an opening statement.
Thank you, and good to see everyone. Start with the injury front. Miles Hinton will be out. He'll be replaced by Barrett Miller. Questionable would be Jonathan McGill, David Bailey, Ricky Miezon. John McGill didn't finish the game. Moving around a little bit now. We'll see how he is at the end of the week. Kind of same with David Bailey. Ricky's actually moving pretty well. He's going to get in some practice today. We'll see how that goes. Missed him last week, but we'll see. Hopefully we can get him back this week. Aaron Armitage, kind of in the same boat. Tried to get going, couldn't get going for the game. And we'll see if he can make it this week. Doubtful, I would say, are still Kendall Williamson and Jacob Mangum-Farrar. As for the game, I thought our team, our players really prepared well. There's no question we were shorthanded, but any game you put on, college or NFL, you're going to see people that are missing. You see people missing in games. I'll turn on an NFL game. I was doing work the other day, and both starting quarterbacks are out. That's just the time of the year. So guys are going to get banged up. Teams are going to be shorthanded. Utah's missing guys. But I thought our team, our players prepared really well and came out and played really well early on. Got a stop, made a big play to get down there, got a touchdown. Defensively, the statistics won't say it. I thought our guys played extremely hard, extremely well. Those got some big time third down stops. And then Utah got fourth down conversions and kept the drives alive. We're able to eat up a lot of clock. You can say wear us down to a certain degree. Getting those stops and getting off the field would have been huge. But we couldn't get them off on fourth down. Got some points off of it. Had some big time opportunities to either get negative plays. Quarterback. We've always had a lot of respect for that quarterback. He's gotten out of danger many times over the years. Had a couple opportunities for stops and TFLs. They had good players. They got out of some danger. On the offensive side, big early on, and they couldn't stay on the field. Did not convert some third shorts, third mediums. Had some opportunities that we've had over the last couple of weeks, and couldn't connect in the passing game. Try to get the running game going. So, like I said, early on, you can see our guys were prepared. They're fired up. They're ready to go. Went out there and gave it their best at the beginning. And then the second and third quarters were a combination of us not staying on the field offensively and us not getting off the field defensively. Our focus right now is the 125th big game. This is going to be a battle. Our seniors, 2 years ago, they were able to hold that axe. They know what it feels like. Before they leave this campus, we'd love to get that axe back for them. So that's been our focus, since the end of the game, and will continue to be our focus this week to find a way to get back that axe. I'll take questions.
Please raise your hand on Zoom. I'll take questions as they come in. Kevin?
Hey, Coach, this isn't really about this game in particular, but more so the news that's been kind of percolating around the country. Your name's popped up in the hot seat conversations. Does that affect you or the team? And do you still feel confident that you're the right person for the job at Stanford?
So as I said, our focus is on the 125th big game. And that's what our focus is. Thanks.
Alex?
Hi, David. Alex Simon from the San Jose Mercury News. What does the big game kind of mean to somebody who's been a part of this university and this rivalry for several decades at this point, going back to when you were a player, just kind of to play in the 125th one, to coach in the 125th one? What could this mean to the program?
Yeah, whenever you have, those 100th game, 125th game, those landmark games, for me, I think about all those people that have coached and played in these games. So many great players, so many great moments. You have some reverence for this game and the appropriate attention that it gets in the Bay Area. A lot of alums, a lot of pride on the line, a lot of bragging rights, got to find a way to win this game and have that axe for our seniors.
And obviously, with the last loss, it assured that unfortunately you guys won't be bowl eligible unless certain things break a certain way at 5-7. But it does it give a sense of finality to this week and next week, kind of thinking we want to finish the season strong going into what could be a long off season?
Well, calendar-wise, the off seasons are the same length. So for us, it's about the big game. It's about, trying to win this axe for our seniors. We'll handle next week, final home game. A lot of things go on there, senior day and all that stuff. But for this week, it's just about the big game. Not making a bowl game was painful. We had our opportunities over the last, month and a half. Didn't finish out a couple of games, so we didn't earn it. So right now, we got one trophy, a Legends Trophy for beating Notre Dame. Now we're trying to get our second trophy of the year, so we can get the axe for our seniors.
Steve?
Yeah, Coach, kind of following up on that, as someone who's been around the Bay Area as long as I have, you hear a lot of Cal people, a lot of Stanford people will say, in some sense, we don't really care what happened before the big game. All we care about if we're a Stanford fan is beating Cal and vice versa. I don't know if I necessarily buy into that, but some people have that attitude. How do you react to that?
I understand it. For me, I take it in such a way that that's what rivalries are. Whether both teams are going to bowl games or both teams not going to a bowl game, it doesn't matter. In this area, our alumni cross paths all the time. So to have those bragging rights as an alum is important. So I take it in a positive way, that we all root for our teams, root for our alma maters. But at the same time, you want to win your rivalry games, and that's what this is.
And following up, what impresses you most about Cal?
It's a Justin Wilcox team. They play hard. They play hard from start to finish. They always have a lot of length. They have size. They play a physical ball game. And, that's what stands out when you watch the film.
Great. Thank you.
Troy?
Yeah, real quick. First off, I remember Caleb Robinson had been hopeful for the Utah game. Hadn't seen him. He's not on the depth chart this week. What's his outlook overall right now?
I would say he's still doubtful, unless something changes drastically in the next day or so. It just hasn't made the progress we'd love to see. So health is still going to be first and foremost. I'm not going to worry about, how many running backs we have. We're going to take care of our young people. And if they're not able to play, we're not going to put them out there.
Unpredictability is a trademark of this rivalry. They're celebrating the 40th anniversary of one of those unpredictable moments. Cal, with some coaching changes on the offensive side of the ball, how could that potentially affect the unpredictability dynamic for this go around?
Yeah, that's kind of the thing, isn't it? I mean, we just don't know. You don't know what's going to get emphasized, whether it's by the coordinator, the play caller, or the head coach. You don't know what the different approach is going to be. You don't know what the run pass ratio is going to be. You don't know what the tendencies are. So that makes it difficult. And at the same time, as I've said before, when there's a change like this, it's also a little bit freeing because you can't do the endless if-then statements. You have to focus on yourselves. You have to focus on your rules and your calls. And making sure that you're as sound against whatever you see. So we can see their personnel on the film, know that they're probably not going to have a completely different offense in a week, but at the same time, different things may get emphasized. So as opposed to just playing percentages, of run pass or situational football, you kind of focus on the things that we can do and the things that we want to do for our own personnel, just because you don't know what the tendencies are going to be with a new play caller.
Ben?
Yeah, I just want to get your thoughts on Jaden Ott, their freshman running back. Got off to a hot start and he's kind of cooled off, but still a lot of talent there. Just talk about what you've seen from him, his abilities, and the key to making sure he doesn't have a big game against you guys.
Yeah, he's got quickness. He's got some explosion. He runs through arm tackles. You see him run physically. So for us, we got to play great team defense. When you get your hands on him, you got to hold on tight and wait for your teammates to get there to gang tackle. But he's a talented runner. He's had some big games early, and he's going to be one of our focal points.
Alex?
Yeah, David, Alex from the San Jose Mercury News. Just one quick follow-up with this being the big game and something you've been involved in for a long time. Is there a thought perhaps in your head that this could be the last time that you're the head coach of the Cardinal going into this game?
I like how you asked that question with a smirk, because I'm not going to answer it. Next question.
Fair.
John?
Coach, maybe an update report on Tanner's progress, just overall quarterback skill. I noticed a couple of times in the Utah game when he was fleshed out, he showed pretty good speed in getting to the sideline, and he's had some off-script plays, I guess is the right term. How is he sort of, I guess I'll go with that question, sort of the improvisational plays or the off-script plays, the throws he has to make off that or deciding to run. How would you evaluate him here? It seems like he's had more of those here in recent weeks.
Yeah, too many, honestly. But I think he's shown that he is, you would never put him in the quote unquote athletic quarterback category. But he does have athletic ability. He has escaped. He has taken off and run and gotten first downs and gotten positive yards. The pocket movement that he displayed to get the big play to Elijah was impressive. We had an unblocked guy coming off the end. He avoided him, found a quiet spot in the pocket, and was a little bit off balance, but had enough arm strength to get that ball down the field. So he's done that multiple times over the course of the year. So he does have athletic ability, and as much as anything, he's got a very quick release. So he does not need a lot of room, doesn't need to wind up to get the ball out, so he can get the ball out with people around him.
Kevin?
Coach, has there been more of an emphasis on getting more people aside from Mitch involved in the run game, just in case, God forbid, he goes down or something were to happen to him?
Shield Taylor's gotten a couple carries over the course last couple of weeks. He's been getting ready in there, and we have a few other guys that are taking carries in practice, just to make sure that we have guys ready just in case.
Ben?
Yeah, I was just curious. You've been a part of a lot of big games. He was maybe toughest guy. If there was one player who from the past who Cal could have that you would not want them to have, who would that be? Who's the one guy that guy was just particularly tough to game plan against? Anybody come to mind where, Aaron Rodgers, Marshawn Lynch, any guy that comes to mind was glad that guy's not facing against us. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I'll just talk about the ones that I was here for. I wasn't here for Aaron or Marshawn. The quarterback that we faced seemed like 7 years in a row. Just his improvisation, his quickness, his ability to make big plays. And I'm losing the name of the inside linebacker that graduated 2 years ago. Led the league in tackles.
Evan Weaver.
Yeah, Evan Weaver is one of the. I've done this a couple of times in my career. Actually, way after the game, went over to their opposing locker room and waited for him outside just to shake his hand. That much respect for him, for how he played the game. He's kind of a Blake Martinez, Shane Scove, sideline to sideline tackler, and then deep in coverage. And he made a great play. We had Colby Parkinson down the middle for possibly a game-winning touchdown, and somehow he got all the way back there and deflected it. So I would say those two guys are at the top of the list.
Troy?
When we talked before the season, I asked you what your biggest question mark about the team was. You said the defensive line. About 4 or 5 games in, I asked you your thoughts on the defensive line. You said they've been solid, but could improve. Now that we've got an almost complete body of work on what the defensive line has done so far this season, how would you sum up how things have gone in that with that position group?
I would still just say solid. I would say we've improved experience, because it was not an experienced group. They've gained a lot of experience, even through some tough situations. I think their play would be more enhanced over the last month if the inside linebackers were healthy, because they kind of all play together. Gap responsibility and taking on a double team so a linebacker can make the play. But I think the entire group, Tobin Phillips being the most experienced of the group, has really turned in a solid season. He's been physical. He's taken on some double teams. He's affected the quarterback a couple times, got a couple of sacks. We got a couple other guys that are growing and getting better over time. All those guys are all coming back. I expect them to have great off seasons and be even better next year. But like I said, I would still give them a solid grade.
John?
David, this goes question relating to your time both as an assistant and as a player. A time or two in the history of this big game, some screwy things happened pregame. I remember in '91, it was the closest thing to a rumble pregame that I remember at Stanford Stadium. And I want to say 2010, the year before you became a head coach, it might have been Jamal Rashad Patterson, could be wrong about the name, got tossed right around the coin toss. So is it the kind of game where you have to kind of take the temperature of your team or kind of watch what's going on with theirs to, get your team at the right, make sure they're sort of at the right level and have all that noise or the, posturing or whatever, or the aberrant behavior not be a factor? I'm not sure I phrased that correctly, but just sort of all the stuff that goes to the big game.
Sure. Really haven't seen that stuff. I think I give a lot of credit to, first Sonny Dykes and now Justin Wilcox. 3 of us have been, very respectful. We compete against each other like crazy, but at the same time, we know this is college football. These are college students. We want them to compete really hard between the lines. We want it to be fair and physical. We want this game to be an example of how you play this game, how you play a rivalry game with energy and passion and emotion, without the extra things that cause a negative light to be put on individuals or either program. So I think what you've seen the last couple of years, yes, they've been up and down. Yes, they've been crazy games. Yes, they've been difficult finishes, some great finishes, blocked field goals, difficult plays on defense, all those things you've seen. But what you've also seen is when the game's over, 2 teams crossing the middle and shaking hands with a lot of respect.
Jackson?
Coach, a little shorthanded at safety, but Scotty Edwards saw some action. He's listed on your depth chart this week. Could you share what you've seen from his progression to this point?
Yeah, Scotty's a heck of an athlete. Saw that in his high school film. Very versatile. He is fast. He is physical. He plays with a lot of energy. About a month ago, he was one of our scout team players of the week, and kind of teased him in front of the group that he finally got rid of his mission legs. You go on a 2-year Mormon mission, depending on where you go, different things are available to you. And he was not able to really do a lot physically. So it took him a while over the summer to get his legs back and start to see that speed and athleticism again, and got into the special teams depth chart. And then because of our injuries, we're able to put him out there. And what I saw a decisive physical tackler, a kid that can cover ground because he can really run. So earlier than we thought out there at safety, but no surprise that he was able to go out there and be effective. And we think he's going to be a really, really good college football player.
Back to Troy.
Big game up in Berkeley a couple of years ago had to be one of the more bizarre ones of this series, but for different reasons. What do you remember of that day, walking into that stadium, looking at the card stunt that was waiting for you on the student section across the way, and just what it took to win that game? What do you remember from that day?
Yeah, kind of like the whole season. Every stadium was eerie. To have, manufactured crowd noise in there, so it's not silent. Those are just strange feelings to not have anyone in the stands either rooting for you or yelling against you. To be in that stands and not hear anybody say take off that red shirt, which was always here in that stadium. It was eerie. It was eerie. The whole season was eerie, and I'm glad that we're past that. I'm glad that it's a memory. Even to the point of saying we're going to walk in that stadium and hear all the bunch of things that we don't want to hear. But that's what makes the game fun. That's what makes rivalry games on the road fun. To be able to go into a stadium, face the other team, face the crowd, face the noise, and at the same time, hopefully get a chance to make the stadium quiet, and finish the game on top and have our guys carry the axe.
Ben.
Kind of quick question on Kyu Blue Kelly. There've been a couple of games where he's kind of gotten beat deep, got beat deep at Utah, and then got beat deep again against ASU. Fortunately, the guy was out of bounds. Any messages to him on things you want him to adjust or change, or is that just a function of that's going to happen, when guys keep going at him, or just anything he needs to adjust or change in your opinion on that?
I think Kayu's been the best corner in our conference. Outside of Deion Sanders, I've never seen anybody pitch a shutout for a season. With Charles Woodson, who's a Hall of Fame corner, and there were games where Charles got beat, but there are a lot of times where Charles didn't get beat. Kyu has affected games pretty much every game he's played in this year. Whereas, teams that have gone after him, he's gotten pass breakups, he's made it difficult for him. There have been a couple balls completed. But for the most part, the balls are getting funneled other places. So I want to say they went 1 for 3, 1 for 4 on his side, something like that. That's still a good day. And the fact that it wasn't more than that was probably why the ball stopped going over there. So we can know now that if the ball's not going over there, we can favor other things. We can help other guys. And, going away from Kyu, that's how Jonathan McGill got an interception late in the game. So I'll say it again. I think Kyu Kelly is the best corner in our conference and one of the best corners in America. It's tough to pitch a shutout. I think he's played great. I think he'll continue to play great. I think he's going to play great at the next level.
Kevin.
Coach, you guys had a fake punt run against Utah. Are you guys a little more prepared, I guess, since it's a rivalry game, that they might be opening up the playbook to something that they haven't pulled out yet?
Yeah, you always talk about those things in rivalry games. Reverses, flea flickers, double reverse passes, fake punts, fake field goals. You cover all those things. And that was a missed opportunity on our part. It was 4th down. If we had anybody over there that didn't retreat, and stayed and forced the kick, maybe we might have had a chance to maybe go up 2 scores and see how the game goes from there. But for rivalry games, we always talk about those things, things that the other team could do to try to swing momentum, the dribble, first kickoff, right? The surprise onside, things like that. So we always cover all those things in big games, in bowl games, in rivalry games, because momentum is so important in these games.
Any other questions for Coach? Thank you, Coach.
Thanks, everyone.
All right, we are back with this Nugent. He'll take questions. Troy.
Well, here we go, Drake, facing up against Cal, very physical defensively. What are some things that stand out to you, especially about the front for the Golden Bears?
Oh yeah, I just say they're pretty well coached. I haven't really gotten too much opportunity to dive super deep into it. But from what I'm seeing, I mean, I rewatched the film for us playing them last year. That wasn't a great game, but just a little extra motivation, I guess. But they're definitely well coached. They got new linebacker from UW that he was a solid player. I remember playing him last year. I just think they're pretty sound. They don't make too many mistakes, and just got to take advantage of the opportunities that we're going to get.
Kevin.
Can you talk about the importance of getting the Axe back and kind of what the vibe in the locker room is heading into this week's matchup?
Yeah. So I mean, obviously, season isn't great. Not as what everyone expected, but at the same time, I mean, Cal's kind of the same similar situation as we are. Everyone, like, this game is kind of a season in itself. I mean, both teams being from the Bay Area and like all the fans on both sides of the Bay. I mean, even around here, I just feel like the students, the fans, like, I feel like everyone cares about it just a little bit more, just because it is that close of a rivalry game. And not just for us as football players, but like I said, the students kind of like relate to in their own little rivalry, just because of like academia rankings and stuff like that. So I mean, it's more just like about bragging rights and stuff, but it puts a little bit more pressure on us. But that's a good thing. It kind of raises the bar a little bit and makes sure that we got to be on top of our stuff.
Ben.
Would you say of all the rivalry games, this is the one that matters the most, or is it just different? That makes sense.
Yeah, I wouldn't say any game matters more than any other one. I mean, each week is the most important week, whatever week you're on. But I'd say it is different, just because of the energy in the stadium, the events leading up to it. I'm walking around campus and you have like the fountains are red, the like Hoover Towers lit up. You have like the horn going off every hour in Tressiter. Just different things like that create a little bit more emotion and just commotion, total commotion about the game, and just more awareness of it that I think makes it more different. So yeah.
Troy.
Bears fans going to be in full throat, I'm sure, throughout the course of the game. But that being said, you guys are no strangers to playing in loud environments. You've played in them pretty much every time you've been on the road this season. How much could that help the dynamic as far as the offensive line and communication and the offense as a whole, already having that experience of playing in loud environments coming into this week?
Yeah, definitely. I think that the loud environments that we have played in have definitely suited us for really every game we've played in, just based off of our preparation and stuff like that. But I think it's all about the week leading up to it. Everyone knows where they're going at each look they give us, or whatever the situation may be. I mean, obviously it's me to get all the guys on the same page, but if they already know what the call is going to be and like what's coming, that just makes it a little bit easier and like helps them solidify their job more. But at the same time, I think like the loud stadiums almost helps us in a way. The energy definitely creates a little bit more pressure for us again, like I said. And I personally, I enjoy it. I love going out there on third down. Like, you just can't hear a thing, but at the same time, like our new cadence, the clap cadence, we didn't have that last year, has helped us a lot. And, you kind of just zone out and you just kind of zone into that cadence and making your calls, and you're just playing football. So it's not too much to overthink.
Steve.
Yeah, this is a little bit of an awkward question, but I'll ask anyway. When your running back room has gotten thinner and thinner, and the opposing teams are not stupid, they can realize that you don't have EJ Smith and you don't have Casey Filkins. Do you get a sense that they're almost ignoring your running game, and that you have that much more of a difficult time pass protecting because they're not really worrying about your running game?
I wouldn't want to say they're not worried about it, because I mean, as a defense, you still have to respect it. No matter if it's Ashton back there or Mitch, or if it's another lineman running the ball, like, you still have to respect the fact that we can still hand it off. I mean, granted, it can increase blitzes and stuff like that. because we may be a little more pass heavy, but I think that more so depends on the course of the game. If we go out there and we're running the ball well, like obviously we're going to stick with the run game and keep running the ball. But like if we can't run the ball, then obviously teams usually revert to the pass and try to score points that way. So I think it more depends on the situation of the game rather than a team's game plan and like how we handle it up front. So
Thank you.
Alex?
Yeah, Alex Simon from the San Jose Mercury News. Obviously, in the 3 big games you guys have played, you've only had the one in Berkeley. This will be one, but that one was played kind of without fans. Just the idea that you're going to step into a raucous environment. As much as they're probably not going to be very pro Stanford in that regard. Is there a fun element to that to kind of know that you're going to get to see what the big game's all about from the other end rather than homer with nobody there?
yeah, for sure. Definitely. Like even last year, you come out in our home stadium and they have like half of it filled up, and they're even super loud at our place. So even in COVID year 2, like there were no fans, as you said, but like they still had people like climbing up on trees, up on the hills, watching from a distance, and it was pretty cool to see that. I mean, I wasn't playing, but you kind of notice those things when you're on the sideline. So yeah, I definitely am excited and can't wait.
Ben?
Even though you guys didn't win at Utah and you guys ended up losing big, any confidence you guys can take knowing that you hung with them tough for a whole first half? Just any positives from that game that you think you can apply to this game and the rest of the season going forward?
Yeah, I think there's definitely positives in that game. I mean, each play has positives and negatives, so there's not really any two specific things that you can really say because I mean, as a football player too, you usually tend to focus on the negative things. Sadly, that's kind of just like the course of the nature of the game and nature of watching film. But I think you can definitely take away things from each game and apply them to whatever's going to happen in this one. But I think our defense definitely played well in the first half. We need to score more points on offense. We didn't play well enough, point blank. But yeah, if our defense can play like that, play like that in the first half or the whole game, then we'll have a really good chance to win. So,
Any other questions? Thank you, Drake.
thanks, guys.
All right, we will close out today with Stephen Herron. Questions, please raise your hand. Ben, you're up first. Ben?
Yeah, I'll ask this next break in a different way. Game. What did you guys do well defensively in that first half that you guys can take going forward with this game and beyond?
I think we did a good job of pressuring the quarterback a little bit in that first half, especially those first 2 drives. I think we did a really good job of getting off the field, and I think that's something that's got to continue into this week. I mean, I think we saw how much that kind of stifled the offense in general. Just coming out with 2 big drives back to back, kind of sat them down for a minute, made them reconsider their plan, made them have to hash it out and figure out what was going to work. So I think if we can play an entire game how we played that first half, I think the times we have done that, it's come out in wins. So let's figure it out. Let's continue to play like that. And I think that's what leads us to the promised land.
Troy?
I'm told that this is the 40th anniversary of some kind of play that happened in Berkeley between these 2 teams. What do you know about that play? What have you and the rest of the team been told about it? How do you guys react to it? Just kind of, how do you guys react to the commemoration of one of the more insane endings in college football?
Honestly, I think everybody's kind of heard like the radio excerpt, stuff like that, like the bands on the field. I think that whole thing is kind of crazy. And being somebody who didn't grow up on the West Coast and didn't know a lot about Stanford or Cal coming into college, I think it's been really cool for me to learn, really cool for me to understand. And kind of like teach the younger guys, teach the David Baileys of the world and CJ Hawkins of the world, like, what is Stanford about? We're having a rough year. With that being said, Stanford knows how to win. We know how to win the big game. So with that being said, go back, watch that, look at the tape. And honestly, I like to go look at in our Hall of Champions, we have like a whole section dedicated to the acts. I remember like my sophomore year, I went and read that before we had to like go and like, stay in a hotel for the whole week to play football. So before doing that, I think I've kind of made it like a yearly thing, just to go back sometime during the week. We reread up on that and kind of just, delve into dive into the history a little bit and really try to understand it more for the history of Stanford, like what is big in this game and what is bigger than me.
Steve?
Yes, Stephen, somebody asked Coach 15 minutes ago or so, which Cal players he admired the most since he's been coaching against Cal. And he mentioned Evan Weaver, a linebacker. He also mentioned Chase Garbers, who obviously gave you guys some troubles in the last 3 years. The fact that Garbers isn't there, and you've gone against a lot of mobile quarterbacks this season. Nothing against Jack Plummer. He's got a great arm, but he's not nearly the mobile quarterback that Chase Garbers or some of the guys. Is that something of a confidence boost that, he's not going to be probably breaking the pocket and running 15 yards downfield?
I mean, for sure, it's always something, maybe when it comes to pass rush lanes and blitzes, we're a little bit easier on that, and we don't have to be as structurally sound. We don't have to cut off every single route like we did against Dorian Thompson-Robinson or Emory Jones, stuff like that. With that being said, I mean, if you leave it open, he's still going to take it. He's not stupid. He's a big guy, played at Purdue for a few years, and I went to watch him during my recruitment. So like, I met him at some time, I'm from Indiana. So, I've met him from, here and then, and he's a good player. Like he's a smart quarterback. If you give him the time and you give him the space, he's going to make those NFL throws. I think it kind of doesn't change much maybe in the approach and how we can get there. But at the end of the day, you still got to get there. You still got to stop the run if you want to get to him.
Right, thank you.
Alex?
Yeah, Alex Simon from the Bay Area News Group and the San Jose Mercury News. When you played in this game as a sophomore, it's obviously, maybe the strangest one that you could ever play in as a big game in terms of no fans, the hotel, like you said. I guess, that the crowd probably isn't going to be for you guys, but I imagine it's still something. Are you looking forward to actually, going into a full house over there and kind of getting the full big game experience as the opponent over there rather than the no fans and everything that went down in 2020?
Yeah, for sure. Honestly, I mean, I think as Nugent said before I got up here, it's kind of one of those things you look forward to as a player. And I think a lot of guys, especially when you play in big places where maybe a little bit more of college towns and than Stanford. I think you really look forward to going into a place like that, being the opponent and just taking in all that they have to give, all the yelling, all the shouting on third down, fourth down, and the boos when you do make a good player, when the refs call, a call that didn't go their way. I think it's one of the funnest things you can do in football. And playing away and being the visiting team and coming out with a dub I think is one of the best feelings. It feels 10 times better than you could ever win at home.
And especially, because I mean, this is a program that actually hasn't lost in Berkeley in over a decade. So to kind of be able to keep that line going, and you kind of were saying what I was going to ask about, is it sometimes more fun to shut a building up than it is to kind of go crazy? But that silence, I assume, as a player is maybe one of the best sounds you can hear, right?
Yeah, for sure. Especially when you're on the sideline and, as it goes back and forth during a game, you hear fans behind you, talking or whatever, of course they're supposed to. That adds more flavor to the game. And then the minute that you can shut them up and walk out of there with a smile on your face. And in this case, with some tangible evidence in the acts, I think it's one of the best things you can do.
Thank you.
Ben?
The fact that you guys have had, a rough season so far, and bowl eligibility is, off the table at this point. Does that add even more meaning to this big game in some respects? And that this is kind of the last kind of, no pun intended, big game left you guys have to play. But does that add any more meaning to it in some respects? Is there any extra meaning in that sense of really making sure that if you win this game, that gives some meaning to this season that has been so rough and so tough?
To a certain level, I agree with you. I think that, it without a bowl being in reach anymore, I think it gives guys something else to focus on. We've been talking all week about, this week it's tangible evidence. You have to sometimes, I would say one of the biggest things I've learned from this season is sometimes hard work is worth it. And then sometimes hard work is just hard work. It doesn't always work out for you. You look at the greatest, and you can't be an all pro every year of your career. You got to figure it out. You're going to have valleys and hills within your career, and especially, from season to season. So with it being a down year, I think that what we've tried to preach over this last few weeks is guys, whether it's for the seniors and the fifth years, or it's for, your younger guys who are actually getting on the field. Like, let's take advantage of the situation that we have in front of us. Let's go win the Axe back. Let's finish the season out on a high note. And then let's go into the off season with a good taste in our mouths and, some ideas to figure out, what went wrong.
Dave?
Yeah, Stephen, I was just curious about, kind of the way that the defensive line is kind of being, reconstructed with the young guys. I was wondering if you could just kind of talk a little bit about David and Jackson. Tiva, maybe he hasn't really been out there that much, but what are these guys capable of down the road? What do you like about them? And how can they, become the best players they can be?
Honestly, the first thing I love about all of them is their want to learn. They're always asking me questions. They're always coming up to me, especially when it was camp and it was all brand new for them. David got here early, so I think he had that entire spring ball to ask questions and to kind of sit back. I think that Teva and Jackson maybe have had to be a little bit more straightforward with their approach to it. Whereas David, he had time to sit with it. He had time where we had those player run practices with no coaches, so you could kind of have as many mistakes as you wanted to, and we're going to teach you exactly how to get out of those situations. He had time to sit with us in meetings before everybody else got here. So I think he had the leg up, but I will say that all of their enthusiasm to learn the game, their enthusiasm to fix the mistakes, I'm going into my fifth year after this season, and I'm still making mistakes every single game. These guys are trying to find those mistakes, and they're trying to fix them themselves. So I think that the best thing they brought forward is just the ability to want to be coached. I'm really excited about what they do well, which is getting off blocks and making big plays. I feel like Teva hasn't played as much this year, but I think he's going to be a big player coming for this team. I commonly compare him, in my career here, somebody that took me under their wing was Gabe Reed, who's now at Utah. And I compare him and Teva a lot in meetings. I think they're very similar players. I think he's going to be just as successful here, if not more successful than Gabe was. And I'm really excited to see what all three of them can do. I think Jackson is an NFL talent. And we've already seen what David can do from game to game. I think that once he gets entirely more comfortable with, first of all, the scheme, and second of all, playing in the big games. And this is his first season in college football. And while I don't think it's that much different, it is faster. At the end of the day, football is football. But, now you're playing against some guys who are, especially when you get to the BYUs and Utah's, the word everybody likes to joke, you're playing grown men. So it's a little bit different case scenario, but with that being said, at the end of the day, like I said, it is still ball, and these young men are really figuring out how to assess it quickly, how to take it over, and I think they're going to be some big players for Stanford in the future.
Any other questions? Thank you, Stephen.
Thank you, guys.
That is the end of today's press conference. Thank you.